sit-down clinic. Grab a coffee if you're in Australia, grab a cold drink if you're in the US on your Friday evening. My name's Coach Ollie. I'm the player and coach development director at Ivanhoe Knights. And, like I said, I'm excited to bring this group together. Got some good speakers and got lots of rising coach members as well on this call, which is awesome. And I really appreciate their support. Guys like Josh and Paul and Lucas that I've sort of met through the network. So it's awesome to have them here as well. And just a huge thanks to Brandon Rosenthal. I know he's not going to be on the call today, but he helped us out with setting up a lot of this sort of stuff and getting it off the ground. And so I really appreciate his effort too. Just a quick background for everybody. The East Coast of Australia now is in a pretty strong second wave, I guess you would call it, of COVID, unfortunately. And, for that reason, a lot of talking to some coaches in my network here in Australia, it seemed that they were pretty downbeat about potentially losing their season. And I just thought we'd sort of try to do something to cheer everybody up and get us all together as a group here, which is awesome. So I really appreciate it. I'm astounded by the response. I'm humbled at the attendance today, which is awesome. Just a couple of quick notes. Please make sure you're on mute unless you're sort of asking a question, just to help everybody out and reduce the background noise. Use the raise hand function or stick your questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them as we go through each coach. We are recording, so we'll try and share it with the group. So those that miss any of it, that's fine. And we've got really no time limit, but we don't want to keep our coaches too late on a Friday night. And please, you don't have to have your camera on. I know it's the morning in Australia and life's a little hectic with lockdown. So please, you don't have to have your camera on. If you're not ready to go, you can watch this in your pajamas. We're good with that here. I'll stop talking too much and I'll get our first speaker on and Coach Mitch or Vanya. I hope I haven't messed up that surname. Former assistant at Stephen F. Austin University in Texas. I didn't know a lot about Stephen F. Austin, but most hoop junkies will remember their famous overtime win against Duke, 2019, big overtime win on the road. Prior to that, he's worked in the video room and as a special assistant for the Houston Rockets. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's awesome. So, look, Coach, I just wanted to get started and just have a look about, I guess, getting into that video room at Houston and what that kind of looks like. Obviously, you're a GA at Texas A&M before that, and how did you come to be involved in an NBA team?
Yeah, so try to not get too long-winded with it, but I started off. I tell people I ran out of talent pretty early on. I played Division III basketball here in the States for a couple of years, and then went to Texas A&M, transferred to A&M. And started off there really in the video room, became a manager and then grad assistant there. And when I was I tried to do any and everything that I could do while I was there, just wore as many hats as possible. So I knew that if I wanted to be or have a chance in this business, I needed to try to learn as much as I could. And so I was the assistant video coordinator there. I gave myself that self-title, but that's basically what I was as a GA. Along with, it's fortunate here in the U.S. in college, as a GA, you can do all of the stuff. You can be on the floor, you can do video, you can do all of it, right? So I started off in the video room, and as you probably know, as most of you know, it's all about who you know in this business. It's like 90% who you know and 10% luck. So when I got to Houston, it was through somebody I knew, and started off in their video room. And was an intern there for a couple of seasons. And from there, after the second season, I got a call to go to Texas A&M. I went back to Texas A&M for one season as a video coordinator, and then the Rockets called me back and was their head video coordinator, and then worked myself to behind the bench assistant for them and kind of their lead scout on the defensive side. So from there, I went to Stephen F. Austin for the last couple of years, and now I am currently a free agent again. So it's kind of the nature of this beast in this business, as some of you may know. The video room in Houston was a great experience. Great experience. When I got there, I got to learn from Kevin McKay, was the first coach that was there when I was there. And some of the assistants on that staff, it's crazy. One of them, JB Bickerstaff, who's now the head coach for Cleveland, and Chris Finch, who's now the head coach for Minnesota. So that just the minds in that room, and then Calvin Sampson, who's the head coach at University of Houston. So the minds in that room with a Hall of Famer coach with Kevin McKay, you know, I was able to learn basketball at a level that I've never been able to learn before. And it's crazy those first couple of years, and every year really you reflect on it and you can see how much you truly learn each season. And in the video room, you know, like I said, I ran out of talent at an early age. Wish I could play at a higher level than I got to, but you know, being able to really learn the game through film and being in film sessions and listening to coaches talk, listening to the players talk was tremendous. And then when I got to be the head video coordinator at A&M, I was very green. I didn't know what I was doing. But coaches helped me out there as well. Back to the Rockets, like I said. And then there was a coaching change. That's when Mike D'Antoni came through. And with Mike, you know, one of the greatest offensive minds of all time, in my opinion. And we had a great just offensive philosophy. And, you know, obviously Chris Paul, James Harden helped that. Great, you know, phenomenal players, Hall of Fame players. And then, you know, James, obviously a lot of people, he has a lot of ISO in him, no question. So it kind of takes out, you know, the prettiness or the fluidity of the game at times. But when he actually ran offense in Mike's system, it was a beautiful thing to watch with him and Chris. I really got spoiled with them watching it day in and day out. So, you know, just getting to, like I said, getting to learn from Hall of Fame staffs, Hall of Fame players, you know, it was tremendous. The video side of it, I can't stress the importance of that. If you have opportunities to learn through video and teach through video. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting. We were talking the other day about video and, you know, I think it's something here in Australia, especially at the lower levels, that's starting to come in a lot more. You know, I think videos, the access to video, obviously via our phones and that type of stuff, we can set those things up on tripods, and you don't really need to have an elite video room to be able to get some visuals for your players. But, you know, and I think this generation of players are very much more skewed to being visual learners. I just think that's the environment they're growing up in now. You know, with Instagram and Snapchat, they're kind of used to having things shown to them through their phones rather than bits of paper and playbooks, definitely. So, mate, when you're saying before, you know, you're a special assistant, you're on the defensive side, you're in the video room. How does that look like in a build-up to during the week, say, or build up to a game with the Houston Rockets? What's your sort of role and what are you sort of looking for?
Yeah, so I mentioned it a second ago. So when I got to that role, in my last couple of years in Houston, you know, it was a lot of prep work through video. So I was essentially became the lead scout for us. We didn't have there's a position in the NBA called the advanced scout. Houston Rockets did away with that position while I was the video coordinator. And so I had to basically become the resident expert on all the opponent play calls and actions. And a lot of that was through the video side of things. So when I got promoted to be behind the bench and the special assistant, you know, and I say lead scout. So Jeff Bizdelic, Roy Rogers, Matt Brazzi were some of the coaches that were there on the defensive side. And what we would do is I would watch 4 or 5 games out going into whoever the opponent was and put together a master edit. And what we would do as a staff, we would meet and then determine which calls or which sets to show. And it had to be dumbed down very much, right? So in 5 games, you can get a lot of clips through an NBA game, right? So you take out all the nonsense and truly get to the nuts and bolts of it. And you look for particular actions that they may run a ton of, or particular actions that you think that they could hurt us with. You know, one team in particular, Golden State, because they were our arch nemesis, right? Could never beat Golden State. So one thing that they did, just other than just flying around and making tons of threes, one thing that they really did well was post splits, right? So they throw the ball into the post and they would cut off of that and set screens for each other guard to guard and create a lot of confusion. We were a switching defense, so they would slip a lot and just try to create confusion where we'd mess up the switch. We had some rules with that, and that's how they were able to manufacture a lot of threes against us. So when that wasn't a particular set or play call, right? But that was a particular action that we would practice against, and we show and film, pull those types of clips as well. So getting, all that preps out, we do the 5 out, get the actions, play calls, we do personnel side of things. A lot of times what we would do is try to incorporate personnel within the actions of the clips, right? So if it's a Steph Curry and Klay Thompson post split and Draymond Green is in the post, right? We're not gonna double team in the post. We're gonna stay home and we're gonna switch on contact with those 2 guards, 2 elite shooters. And you may show a clip of that where, and as the season progresses, you'll have more clips of yourself, obviously, against the team. And you may show a mistake where you had against them, and then you may show a clip where you guarded it correctly. So yeah, personnel, actions, and I was also the person in charge of drawing up all the plays in diagrams. We didn't necessarily give that to the players, but that was more for coaching staff to be able to study, go through, and know what they were running. And then during the game days, so on games, I sat right behind Mike D'Antoni and Jeff Bzdelik. Bzdelik was our associate head coach, and he was in charge of the defense. So my job during the game is to either watch opponent point guard or the head coach, see whatever action they're going to call. That could be a verbal, that could be a visual, and NBA game it's happening fast, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I see it, you got to alert. I had to alert Jeff of the play call and the action, and he would alert whoever on the floor. Obviously, in the NBA, the actions are a little bit simpler because of the shot clock, right? Whereas in college, the ball can get reversed side to side maybe a couple of times before you actually get to the main action. Yeah. So in the NBA, it may be just a quick pin down or a quick cross screen for a post up. And you would alert whatever player was in that action. Hey, Trevor Ariza, there's a pin down coming your way, just to alert them of that type of action. So that was kind of the main focus I had the last couple of years there in Houston. And that all started with my experience through the video room. So it just kind of built more and more each year.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and it's interesting, like you said, you're looking for that action all the time. You're trying to pick up the communication side of things, and obviously relaying that in a stadium. Obviously, they haven't been full of fans recently, but obviously with a lot of noise, a lot of background noise, and that type of stuff going on as well. Are you picking up on stuff that they're doing out of timeouts? You reminding guys when they go onto the floor, or how does that sort of work from a timeout perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Special situations, right? During the regular season, you would kind of pick up on some of that stuff, and we would focus on it a little bit, right? Tendencies that they would have coming out of a timeout. A lot of times, especially in the NBA, it's very matchup driven. So you would focus on that in particular. Now, as you get into the playoffs, obviously you study a team and break them down tremendously, and you'll literally know every single baseline out of bounds, every single side out of bounds, every end of game situation. And so, in a sense, it's kind of a guessing game coming out of timeouts. But oftentimes you have general concepts that they may get to, especially end of game stuff. So going back to the playoff prep, you go through an 82 game season, and there may be 15 to 20 games where a team may have a close game where they run something at the end of the game. And oftentimes, they'll have 3 or 4 kind of main plays that they maybe have run 3 or 4 times, and then they'll have a few one-offs. But we focus more on the 3 or 4 times that, the plays that they ran multiple times. And so Jeff Bzdelik, like I said earlier, he would have a card, the diagram, full sheet diagram made up, and about 4 or 5 of those in his binder. And we would talk about it in a timeout, if it's a close game situation. Hey, be aware, they love to run flare screens here, or they love to run, a side ball screen here, or whatever. And you kind of alert the guys to that. And I've noticed, like I said, it's kind of a guessing game. Sometimes we would hit it on the nail, and sometimes, we'd swing and a miss. But, hopefully in the playoff prep, you've also guarded it at some point in practice leading up to that. So, it's crazy. Playoffs is a whole nother level, as you could imagine. And it's just by, you in a 6-7 game series, the team inside it out. And I used Golden State earlier because we played them every single year in the playoffs. And, I know them like the back of my hand. So it's crazy.
You start to know, yeah. And I know that feeling as a coach myself doing scouts. You start to feel like you know them better than you know yourself after a while. That's for sure. So we always talk about people always talk about limited practice time at the NBA level. You know, are you on floor kind of looking at that? And how is that done? Is that done like 5-on-5? Is that done a lot sort of 5-on-0? Or how do you sort of defend that sort of stuff or learn the breakdowns?
Yeah, oftentimes NBA. So once the games get going, you get out of training camp and your main practices at the beginning of the season. Once you start to go through the regular season, your practice time goes way down, like you just said. So oftentimes, kind of our structure in Houston, and it is different from team to team. We had a veteran team, so we had a lot of flexibility and freedom to teach and talk more so than actually going 100 miles an hour full speed through stuff. So what we would do on most practice days is we would watch film from either the previous game or the upcoming game to teach a little bit. And then we go to the floor and we may go through 3 or 4 plays of the opponent. And it's more of a walkthrough than anything. You may go – sometimes what we would do is myself, some other coaches, player development coaches, we may be on the floor in a 3-on-3, 4-on-4, sometimes maybe a 5-on-5 situation. And we go, you know, our 75% full speed is like 10% for those guys. And, you know, so we can give them somewhat of a look to try to create, like I said, the post splits a second ago, try to give them some type of, you know, look at it, if you will. But it's a lot of walkthrough, a lot of just more teaching than anything. And then you do some things offensively where you can attack a certain team, what you want to look for. 3 or 4 things. And then after that, guys would get their shots up and that would be a wrap. It was very simple, very simple. We would be in there tops maybe an hour, and that's after the guys would get their shots up. So, you know, as the season progresses, and again, it's different from team to team. We had a very veteran team, and, you know, those guys, you know, 8, 10, 12 years in the league, they know more basketball than any of us, you know, combined do, because they lived it for 8 to 12 years. So it's another level. Now, as getting to the playoffs, we would get our G League guys, our lower level guys, have more of a roster to give guys a certain look. And you would have 2 or 3 days, hopefully, it depends on when your first game is, but you have 2 or 3 days to go 5-on-5 full court to really give those guys a look. The only other times during the season you would have like full-on practice is, say you have a back-to-back, day off, and another day off, like 2 days in between games. You may come in and get a sweat in just to get your legs back under you. And we tops, again, we go 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And those days are not as common in the league. Those are more rare, but you would get something in, and you would try to put something in, maybe cover during those times.
I'll just switch into a little bit more sort of tactical side of things from that point of view when you're looking at your scout, and I guess something that's a bit more relatable here for our coaches as well. So, you know, from a Houston perspective, when you were there, an on-ball screen, say a side, you know, a wing on-ball screen, how did you guys sort of look to defend that? You know, what were the sort of different looks you gave teams defensively on that sort of side? And I know you've got there'll be a lot. I know we defend ball screens 3 different ways at RMIT, so I understand that too. But what sort of, you know, how would you sort of make that look? What's the look for that for you guys?
So yeah, you know, so the year we lost to Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, and people they discredit D'Antoni and they discredit James Harden defensively, right? But what people don't understand is we were the 6th best defense in the league that year. So we had a tremendous defense.
Yeah.
And now it helps to have PJ Tucker and Clint Capella and Trevor Ariza and those guys.
Definitely.
You put those guys around James and it helps them, right? But we did have multiple coverages, but our main defense those years, we switched 1 through 5 mostly. That's because PJ could guard 1 through 5. Clint was really good on the perimeter. And the way the game is being played, we knew that you would take away threes, force them to the rim, right? And because most teams don't really take the mid-range anymore. We got to see a little bit of that a resurgence this year in the playoffs, especially with Milwaukee and Phoenix, you know, in the finals. a little bit more resurgence of that mid range. But in Houston, we switched everything. We had some rules with that, and say it was like you said, a side ball screen, a 2-5 ball screen. 5 man's coming to set it on the side, and James was in it, Clint was in it. That's an automatic switch. Now, kind of some rules with that is if there was no contact, or if you were told to switch, communication had to be top notch, right? So the big would read the guard defender, right? If he was able to get up and in them and get over the screen, like, you stay with your own. But if there's any type of contact made or you're told to switch, it's an automatic switch. And as a team, we were very physical with it. We would switch up and into guys.
I was just going to say to you guys, because there's different, I think, we think switching sometimes it's a passive defensive mechanism to when I see a lot of teams doing it. You guys switch hard up and in. Yes. Yeah. So, and that's the things, right? A lot of times the switching defense, a lot of times people will view that as an easy way out. But that's not what we wanted to do. Our terms we use was we switch as a weapon. So we switched to take away threes. We switched to force turnovers. And just the physicality part of it was huge. Now, in an NBA game, you can understand, and you got to adjust to the official. I mean, at any level, really, you got to adjust to the way the officials are calling the game. But you've heard it over and over again. The more physical team tends to get, the benefit of the doubt as the game progresses, right? So if you come out there and you're super physical, oftentimes the officials will kind of adjust to you as well. And so we were emphasized being very physical, up and into guys. And as I said, to take away threes first and foremost, because of the way the game is especially being played. And obviously it's very personnel driven as well, right? Of course. Who guys, especially in the NBA, guys are going to shoot, who's not going to shoot, who's going to pass, force a guy to make a play off the dribble. I mean, it's at every level really, but it's basketball. So, it's sometimes, when Chris was involved in ball screens, there were times, or if Trevor was involved or if PJ was involved, we'd want to keep a particular matchup. And sometimes, we would try to stay with our own, but for the most part, we switched and we're up and into guys. So yeah, we were a very aggressive team defensively. Well, that's a great pullback of the curtain there on what an NBA team looks like. And, I certainly encourage our coaches on this call, get on YouTube, look up some of those older Houston teams from back when Mitch was in there and have a look at that. Cause I think it's good to sort of get a bit more visual on it too.
I'll be honest with you. I've got, if anybody wants to email me or whatever, I've got kind of a defensive teaching tape with a lot of that stuff on it.
Oh, fantastic.
That if somebody wants to take a look at it, I'd be happy to send it.
Awesome. Well, we definitely get, like I said, we'll definitely get out people's details so they can get in touch with our speakers today. That's awesome, man. Looking now, I guess going now forward a little bit now to your time at Stephen F. Austin, and obviously you're an assistant coach there. What was your sort of role there, sort of, I guess, on the practice floor and then on a game day with the guys?
Yeah. So kind of my role there, I was more with the guards. Oftentimes, so totally different environment from the NBA. College, way more practice time. So it was an adjustment for me from that standpoint. But, we would have 2, 3, 4 hour practices. And oftentimes it starts off with, your basic warm-up drills, all that kind of stuff into position, So I was with the guards a lot. Very position oriented. We'd go through some different things, either offensively or defensively that we wanted to work on ourselves, or if we were focused on certain actions again that another team may run, we may hit some of that and some of the position breakdown. And then from there, we would build up into the full 5-on-5 and do tons of different drills, transition, rebounding, focus defensively, focus offensively. And my role during that, it depended on if I had the scout or not, but my role was, very much, it changed from day to day, to be honest with you. Like coach may emphasize, hey, focus on, being on the midline this day. You know, anybody that's on the midline, let's get after them. Or you focus on the guards running to the corner today. Make sure they sprint all the way to the corner. So, you know, as a coach, you're obviously trying to watch a little bit of everything, but some days more focus on certain areas that coach may be looking for. And then, you know, it, like I said, depend on your scout. So if I had the scout, we would get into a breakdown where you would go through 4 or 5 plays and go full speed with it. So you'd walk the team through it, and they pick it up, and then you run the action. And we would guard that literally until we pretty much had perfects just about every time. You know, at Stephen F. Austin, we were another tremendous defensive team. My 2 years there, the first year we were there, we were number 1 in the country in forced turnovers out of 350-something, you know, NCAA Division I teams. Wow. The second year I was there, I think we were 8th, I believe 6th or 8th. So top 10 for both seasons in forced turnovers. And again, we played a very unique style of defense there. We were very, very much in the passing lanes, full on denial, even in the post, full on denial. And which, when I first got there, was kind of unique because I'm like, just throw it over the top. But tremendous ball pressure, you know, takes that away. And it was, again, a very good defensive team that we were a part of. It's why we had so much success there. And then on game days, you know, if I had the scout, you'd go through everything. You go through offense, you go through their defense, you go through personnel, and you look for, you know, just about everything. I mean, it's the full thing, which I love to do that. You know, I had a ton of the experience with that in Houston, but now the added layer of, all right, offensively, how are we going to attack their defense, which was a new thing for me to get my hands on there at SFA. So.
For you spoke about before about warming up the guards and getting them going at practice. What's some warm up stuff that you would do with the guards there when they walk into practice? They just pulled their shorts up. How do you get them going?
You know, a lot of times, and we practice in the morning too. So to be honest with you, I tried to get them there. You know, hey, let's get on the floor 45 minutes. Let's get on the floor 30 minutes before. And I would try to take 2 or 3 guys. Now you can't. Obviously, it wasn't mandated, but I try to get 2 or 3 guys in kind of different groups, right? And oftentimes I always do ball handling, 2 or 3 minutes just to get them warm, get them loose, get a feel for the ball, 2 or 3 minutes of ball handling. And then from there, it depends on the time of the year. During the season, I focused mostly on shooting during the season, just because, again, we'd have 3 or 4 hour practices plus the games. Like, guys' legs were gone. So, you know, during the season, I would do a lot of stuff like shooting off the move, a lot of catch and shoot, a lot of competition shooting, just to make sure they got tons and tons of reps of that. Because we didn't necessarily get a ton of shooting in during practice. And sometimes, like, if a guy didn't come in before, I'd pull him aside right after practice and we do the same kind of thing. But, you know, during the off season, it's a little bit different. Now you can kind of get into a routine. So our kind of development from that scene, and that's exactly what it is. It's a little bit more development focused in the off season. So I'd have days where I do ball handling every day, but I'd have days where it'd be a ball screen day. I'd have a day where it'd be tons and tons of finishes at the rim. Some of that's off the move, some of that's off the bounce, different positions on the floor where you may catch it, rip and go, you know, working on footwork and all of that. And then, you know, shooting off the move days. And then Fridays, typically I always just do tons and tons of catch and shoot stuff. It just kind of, I varied it up every, you know, it's funny because I have an idea and thoughts and kind of a game plan going into the practice or the player development part of it. But I oftentimes I would kind of freestyle it a little bit here and there, working on different types of finishes and different types of moves off the catch. You know, it may vary it up in ball screens and how, you know, I'd get the managers out there, myself out there. How are we guarding it this time? You know, are we hedging it? Are we switching it? Are we back in the paint? You know, how are we guarding that type of stuff? And as you progress in that, you can start to do different reads, all that kind of stuff, getting downhill,
Yep.
3-on-4 versus the managers. You got an extra defender out there, but you should be better than them. How are you reading their defense? Are they coming to help? Are they staying home? And making those passes and then playing off penetration from there. So
there's nothing more disappointing when the managers start playing better than the guys on the floor.
Correct.
There's nothing more disappointing than watching an assistant coach start draining threes on you. It hurts. It hurts. Coach, I'm mindful of your time this evening as well, so I'm going to jump straight into some questions. I had some guys throw some questions at us, and one of the questions was how do you get your players to buy into defense as they do into offense? How did you sort of, I guess, from the defensive side of things, what's your sort of mentality around that?
Yeah, and that's like probably 90% of it, right? Is getting guys to buy in and play hard. But no, really, that's a huge part of it. I can't emphasize that enough because there's all these different schemes that you can throw out there. At the end of the day, people are going to score, right? So what can you do to, just emphasize getting that important stop here, and both Houston and SFA, we, take away transition buckets, take away easy buckets at the rim, and defensive rebound. Those are kind of like the three main keys defensively that you have to take away some of those easy buckets, right? But getting guys to buy in, it's tremendous to have that one or two guys on your team that you may pull aside before the season starts. You may pull aside after practice as the season's going, and they're kind of your quarterback on defense. You get those one or two guys in a leadership position that buy in, and hopefully every single one of our coaches is blessed with one or two of those guys on a team, because you need those kind of guys that aren't necessarily focused on having the ball 100% of the time or getting a bucket here, right? Some guys are two-way players, but that's very rare. So having that main defensive guy, PJ Tucker in Houston was that guy for us. He may go the whole game and take two shots.
Yeah, you saw that in the NBA Finals. Yeah.
He's going to talk every single possession. He's going to quarterback you. He's going to lead you. And you got to have that guy that's bought in. And if they do it the right way and lead the right way, it's infectious. Everybody starts to buy in. And it's if you can have that guy and you get him to play hard, that's like over half the battle. Now at SFA, again, I referred to it a second ago. We may guard it for 20 minutes until we get it perfect. We are going to get it perfect.
You got the time. You got the time on the floor too. Yeah, which makes a difference.
Exactly. So if that's your emphasis, it's all about what you emphasize. If that's your emphasis, you don't give them a choice.
Yeah,
they have to guard.
They got to guard it.
But it's
looking at that sort of stuff, like from an individual point of view, Coach, like how much of, and I guess this from a defensive side and then probably more so from an offensive side, but one of the questions here is like, how much of that work is individual 1-on-0? And this, I guess, more so from a skill point of view, but offensive skill, how much of that is 1-on-0 and how much of it is like 1-on-1? Let's use Stephen F. Austin as an example.
Yeah, so at SFA and the development side of things, that's where, again, I don't want the guys necessarily on the offensive side. I don't want them battling 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 every single day. They just get tired of it. They stop trying. And that's, to be honest with you, if you can get some coaches and managers that are at least a decent body on the floor, they're not, just playing dead out there. If you can get somebody that maybe played high school basketball or has a past in basketball, like, I played Division III. I ran out of talent, but I did play Division III. So and I've learned the game, so I'm at least a body out there. I'm older now, but I during the off season in that development period, I loved being on the floor with the guys because it gives. I call it. It's probably kind of corny, but I call it sweat equity, right?
Yeah,
and
sweat equity.
You can get out there and they build a level of respect for you. You obviously respect them because you're kind of in the trenches with them, so to speak. But you're trying to give them looks. You're trying to guard to the best of I'm guarding the best of my ability, my you know, a full 100% is maybe they're 75%, but, you know, I'm giving them a look, at least a hand in the face, you know, some physicality off the ball screen so they can get a feel for it. You know, that's not every day, but I think, and as a coach, as you get older, you kind of, you want to avoid injury and all that kind of stuff for yourself and for them. But you learn and you know how to be on the floor and how to use your body and get into them without hurting them or hurting yourself.
No, that's good.
You know, and from time to time, maybe you would get them to play some 3-on-3. Like, I think 3-on-3 is tremendous. So maybe you have a 4-week period at SFA where we do off-season workouts. And that last week, all the stuff that we've been working on, you know, playing off the catch, reading the defense versus us, footwork, catch and shoot, ball screens, all that stuff. Now it comes into play, put them in 3-on-3 situations, put them in a ball screen, put them in a wide pin down, put them in a post up. You know, now you can kind of work on that in 3-on-3 and get them to really learn how to play together and learn how to play basketball with just, you know, 3-on-3 at the park. You're playing, you're hooping. So, you know, that's kind of the progression that I tend to veer towards.
It. No, I've been pushing 3-on-3 a lot. Coach, I'm gonna wrap us up. I know I got Ben's next up, and Coach, I really appreciate you. Thank you once again for getting here on a Friday evening with us and jumping in. And I know we had some great questions there, and I'm sure people will have some more. If I got Abel, you got a question for us, mate?
No question, just a clap emote to say thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
No, I appreciate it. Well, Mitch, I got your email there, and I'll get that out to everybody post event. It's in the chat there as well, which is awesome. And that's a really, like I said, that's a really great insight to us. And so, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Absolutely. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. At the end of the day, I just pretend I know basketball. So
no, I think that's what coaches are good at. We're good at rambling. I'm almost proficient at it. I would say that's what I'm paid to do here, is just ramble. So you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. My email's there. Feel free to reach out whenever. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, people, let's fill up that coffee cup, whatever you got there. And we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to get to, I got our next guest is Coach Benjamin Sanders, assistant coach in the G League, Brooklyn, Chicago, Houston affiliates, recently involved with the US preparation for the Nigerian men's team prior to the Olympics. I was really blessed to be involved in a coaching philosophy group with Ben, and he was leading it. It was a great eye-opener for me, and I'm really excited to have him on board. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me. That's quite the intro. I
got to give you that respect. I got to give you that respect, man. I got to give you that respect. Look, I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna get right at you, and you know, it's fresh in everybody's memories at the moment. Obviously, the Olympics, great for America, good for Australia, with what happened on both sides of the pond for us. But how does, I guess, diving into that preparation side of things with Nigeria? Guys coming in from all over the place, short turnaround time, couple of practice games. Where does a coaching group start? Where do you start? Do you start offense, defense? Where do you start with that sort of thing?
It's an interesting experience, that's for sure. I think kind of going back and reliving that experience in my head, one of the good things we did was we had a massive group come into camp. We had probably 40 players all said and done, but week one, I think we had about 30 guys. Brought in some young guys, some long shots who were definitely not going to make the Olympic squad, but guys that you want in the organization, and some of which will be playing in Afrobasket in the coming weeks. Some guys playing in Afrobasket qualifiers down the line. Some of them were young college players who we expect to have a bright future for the Nigerian national team. And in week one, we were able to kind of focus on those guys, the ones who are not necessarily going to the Olympics. And in doing so, we had kind of a trial run of how we wanted to install things, how we wanted to, get to our buildups and get where we wanted to be. And then that way, the second week, once our NBA guys started showing up, we were able to kind of go it or review things with the players who had been there. Our staff had already been through those reps one time teaching it the week before. Our second week did not look very different than our first week. The competition level and the talent level really increased. But we had already been through those reps as a staff. And I can't say enough about kind of rehearsing some of that stuff. I've been on staffs that rehearse a daily practice before you even get out there with the players.
Okay.
And that kind of thing pays off. I don't know if I'm 100% a believer in running through the entire practice, but sometimes I have to do, and especially at the start of the season. So for me, I think that's what we really benefited from was we had those reps. Offensively, it was how are we going to get out and run? Our running habits are first and foremost. What are we doing when the play breaks down? We kind of had a little bit of I don't know if you'd call it a secondary break, but that's kind of what it was, that we were just trying to make sure we were initiating offense with movement, getting our first paint touch right away, that type of thing. And then defensively, man, I can't even really tell you what we did. We just had a bunch of guys who were willing to guard. We could have taught defense any way we wanted to. Yeah. And these guys were going to go out there and guard their asses off because they took a lot of pride in it. And you could see through our Olympic performance that we were much better defensively than we were offensively.
Oh, definitely. You know, like when I watched that game against Australia, the practice game, you know, the first one and more so in the second one, once you got to the tournament, it was you could see Australia's adjustment to the athleticism that Nigeria showed on defense was incredible. Shots were being blocked at the rim. Guys were being challenged in the paint constantly. You know, guys crashing the boards. You could definitely see that they were flying around more than definitely the Australian team expected. And you could see some adjustments there from Brian and the group as well, which was pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's the end of the floor. We had to be the aggressors. If you look at the guys we had on our roster, they were mostly role players in the NBA. They weren't the go-to guys. They weren't the guys who, when the play breaks down, they're going to go get you a bucket. But they were guys who knew how to play their asses off. They knew how to bring it every possession. And I don't think you could question their effort the entire time.
No.
I think we're headed in the right direction. You can see our win over US in the warm-up games, the exhibition games was a highlight for us. Is kind of a sign of things to come now. We've got to work on consistency a little bit. And that's one thing you find a lot of successful teams at the FIBA level have, right? Your Spain's, your Australia's, your Argentina for the longest time. They consistently played year in and year out, understood FIBA basketball. When they get away from the NBA, they know exactly what they're doing, and there's that cohesiveness. And I hope down the line we'll see that with the Nigerian program as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Shift gears to obviously your time on G League staff, and I guess a question that's probably pretty poignant for, I guess, us at a junior level here in Australia, and definitely in some of our programs is and no doubt affects G League teams as well, is that balance between winning and development. And I guess I pose the question: can you do both, Coach? Can you win and develop great players, or does one have to suffer on either side of the coin?
I think you can do both. I really do. I think you have to be good at remembering your priorities from time to time. The G League is interesting because it's one of the very few leagues where development comes before winning. This is now 2 seasons ago. It was my second season with the Windy City Bulls in the Chicago organization. We didn't win enough. We were floating around 500 before the season was called for COVID, and I would deem that year a pretty successful year due to our player development. We had multiple guys who went on within a couple years to get NBA contracts. Guys like PJ Dozier and Max Strus, who signed their first NBA deal just a year or two later, and you feel so much pride and joy for those players in that moment. And that to me feels as good as winning a lot of times. Yeah. And but what it comes down to is kind of your daily decision. Do you jump out there and go an hour and get these guys some work, or do we need to keep them fresh for the game the next day? Does that change from week to week? At the beginning of the season, you're probably doing a lot more on the court and maybe sacrifice a little bit of rest in order to get those reps in. But as the season goes on, there's a lot to do with, or there's a lot of benefit from keeping your guys fresh. When I was in RGV, which is actually in the Houston organization, that's how I met Mitch. I've known Mitch for years now. Yeah. And we had one of the most talented G League rosters I've ever seen. And it was not about necessarily improving these guys. It was more about showcasing these guys.
Okay.
So yeah. We valued keeping them fresh more than anything else. And Monte Morris was on that squad. So was Daniel House, guys who really just needed the reps, and they showcased themselves in games, and they're both doing really well at the NBA level now. And then the following season, my first season in Windy City, we didn't have as many kind of NBA hopefuls. And so it was more about, we got to get the most out of the season to make sure these guys are prepared for their next opportunity, whether it's NBA or overseas. And harder practices, we had a lot less rest. That had a lot to do with our head coach and just his preferences. And I saw a lot of value in that as well. So my third year in the G League under Damian Cotter.
Yep.
We found a healthy balance that I felt was probably the right way of doing it. Not that either of the other ways was wrong, but maybe the right way for me to do it, which was make sure you're constantly pouring into your players, and no amount of losing or winning is going to stop you from consistently getting on the floor and sweating with those guys and showing them that their development is the priority.
Yeah, definitely. I expect people to get those questions through, and we'll start opening up that floor a little bit more for some stuff with Benjamin. But your philosophy then, where does your philosophy sit then in development? Are we looking at, like, especially at a professional level, are we looking about how they can win off the ball? Can they break their player down? Or is it kind of more sort of pertinent towards an individual player as to their sort of role, what their potential role is in the future? Are they a great defender? Are they going to be a great defender? How do you sort of come up with the development philosophy per player or per group? So
I think one thing we do as coaches a lot is we try and fix everybody's weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think there's some to that, obviously. But I also think we need to focus more on their strengths, strengthening their strengths, right? So let's say we know a player is great at getting downhill with his right hand.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people, their instinct is, well, let's make sure he can go left as well. And there's something to that, right? But also, how can we get them to their right more? Like, how can we find more ways for them to get there? And I think there's a lot of ways to get creative with that kind of stuff. But one example I think of is I coached against Pascal Siakam when he was in college, right? He's with I believe he's still with the Raptors, right? And he's had a hell of an NBA career. He's overachieved so far. And I remember the scouting report with him was, we know he's going to his right hand. Every single time he's going to go to his right hand. So we're going to sit on his right hand. We're going to double team him when he catches in the high post. And you know what that guy did? He got to his right hand every single time.
If you can't go right, just go righter. That's the answer. If you can't go right, just go more righter. Yeah.
So I think there's something to that is helping guys find more ways to get to their strengths. I think there's a lot to do with that. But the other thing I think about is not everybody's meant to be the star in their next location, right? It's tough sometimes at the G League level when you're working with young Americans who are probably not quite an NBA prospect. You know they're going to have to go overseas. Americans are expected when they go overseas to be the man. Yeah, definitely. So you gotta teach them, how can they get a bucket, right? How can they create an advantage on their own? How can they go be the playmaker and be the star, right? And that's conflicts a little bit when you want to prepare them for the NBA, because they're not necessarily going to be that guy at the NBA. Yeah. So my personal feeling is, first you teach them how to be a really great role player. Okay. How can they play off the catch, attack bad closeouts? If you can't do that, I don't see how you're going to find success. But you got to be able to attack closeouts. Yep. And then from that, you can start building and giving them just little tools here and there to all of a sudden, maybe you're not attacking a closeout, but you are attacking a set defense. And how are you the one creating the advantage, right? As we all know, offense at the simplest, in its simplest form, is create an advantage, maintain an advantage, right? Yes. Yeah. Create an advantage and then increase the advantage. So there's a lot of players who can play off of an advantage that was already created. And again, that's playing off of closeouts. That's coming off of DHOs, that type of stuff. And then you've got your players who can be the ones to create the advantage for you. So, like I said, it's starting with maintaining an advantage and then building on their skill set so that they are able to create an advantage. Some guys, some of these shooters, create an advantage just by sitting in the corner, right? And that's one that you can't work on enough, is shooting. So
and I was just going to say that, shooting. You talk about shooting, that it's the most important skill. I always say, you win games by how many points you got on the board, not many points you haven't scored. And breaking down a player, talking to a player about their development. Are we using film for you? Is it film really? Are you prefer to be film based? Do you want to be on court with them? Is it a bit of a mixture? How does it sort of sit for you in that G League environment?
The G League, I think, is very similar to the NBA in that film is of utmost priority. Everything we do is film, right? The more individualized you can make it, the better. I don't know a single team in the G League that is not having players sit down one-on-one with their coaches and watching film. You're able to criticize more in those moments one-on-one. You're able to get specific and really teach in those moments. It's very important in your player development to see that. And it's not just in pointing out mistakes and where they can improve. Sometimes it's showing them ways that they're successful and reminding them that this is when you're at your best, right? Yeah. This is when you're helping the team the most. This is what we need to see you do more consistently. Most players you're going to see make a good play, a game or two. Yeah. And then they just kind of forget that making that same play, making that same read is an option. But there's a lot of players out there who could just keep exploiting the same weak points in the defense over and over. And they just need to see it. You got to be able to point them out. So the other advantageous thing about film is it doesn't stress your legs. It's not wearing you out to the same physically, right? I think sometimes we discount how much just being locked in general in any capacity, whether it's film or anything else. Sometimes we don't take into consideration how that affects players' fatigue as well. But film will fatigue their body physically so much more than just sitting and watching film. So if you need a lighter day, maybe it's just shots and film. That's a common thing where we're still having a productive day. We're still teaching, we're still learning, but we're not wearing them out for the next game.
Yeah, I like it. I know I've got a question here already, and I'll get straight to questions now. When you have to talk to a player maybe about something they need to improve in, obviously sometimes people take feedback fantastic, some people don't. How do you approach a player that's maybe a little prickly on some negative, let's call it improvement feedback rather than negative feedback? How do you approach that player?
So I think the key to those conversations is building that relationship beforehand.
Yep.
It's really hard to criticize anybody or give anybody feedback if you don't have a relationship with them.
Yep.
You gotta put in the time to build relationships. To me, the easiest way is get on the floor with them. It's like Mitch said, sweat equity. I think that's some cliche, but it's a real thing. Like, get out there and sweat with them. And once you do, and the workout's over, that player, chances are he's going to sit there in a chair or bleachers or on the floor right by the court immediately afterwards. And if you can just sit with them right then and there, you'll find that that's usually a moment they'll open up and chat with you. And it's a good time to talk about family, living situation, what else, if you know what else they're interested in. I love to figure out what sports teams they're into, and whether it's football or, anything else really. And then you can start like, hey man, I saw your team lost yesterday. And that's a simple little thing, right? But it shows that you remembered what team they root for. It shows that you can be playful with them a little bit. And in building those relationships, now when I come back and say, hey man, I need you to do this, or we need you to do this, or it would benefit you to do this, they know it's coming from a place of caring. It's you've invested in them, you've poured yourself into them, and you're not just somebody who's trying to use them to get your next job or to get your paycheck or anything like that. They know you care and want to see them succeed. And players can tell if you care or not.
I agree.
They're not
100%. 100%.
Players are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And we as coaches love to think we know exactly what that player is thinking.
Yeah.
Or what that player is doing in their free time. That we know the reason their attitude is a certain way. Man, we don't know that stuff. We don't know what's going on with them, just like they don't know what's going on with us, right? But if you take some time to kind of dig into that and understand, maybe they're more likely to say, hey, coach, my mom's struggling with something and I'm just not in the right place. Well, now you know necessarily not to coach that guy especially hard that day. Or on the flip side, you may know when other guys are ready and hungry and you can coach them a little bit harder. So, again, the better you know them, the better you're going to be able to reach them. I think that setting that foundation is number one. Yeah,
definitely. What's some of the I guess the cultural philosophy around that Nigerian team? The question has come in here from Connor. What are some of the key cultural mindset points that sort of, I guess, that were put to that team prior to the tournament, or I guess philosophies on offense and defense that they had there with the Nigerian team that you know of?
So it's interesting that a national team is just a different setting. Like, there's nothing like it. It's very much, there's kind of culture built in a way. You're all representing the same thing. You all care about the name on the front of the jersey differently than you do when you're just there for a paycheck. There's just a different type of pride, right?
Yeah.
We didn't really have to focus too much on building that culture because everybody was there for the right reasons. Everybody wanted to see Nigeria succeed.
Yeah.
And really be the start of something special. But as far as X's and O's, we really wanted to stress that we were going to be a team that was going to play from the baseline out.
Okay. Yeah.
We were going to throw it to the post and post splits, a lot like Mitch was saying the Golden State Warriors do, where our head coach is in for the Golden State Warriors, so it was built on that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But that's really what it boiled down to is let's run, let's get to our spots, let's play with pace, and play from the baseline out. And then we would have liked to seen our offensive performance be a bit better. Defensively, we knew we were going to be the aggressors. We were going to turn up the pressure. We were going to make it uncomfortable. We were going to be physical. FIBA allows for a different level of physicality than the NBA does. And I was pleasantly surprised with our NBA guys saying, all right, let's go. Let's get physical. So we didn't have to do much to get these guys bought in and ready to play. Our culture was great. Great leadership from our vets.
Yeah. That always helps. Always helps.
It goes a long way. It really does. And also, let's be real. Our head coach was a former head coach of the Lakers and the Cavs, and his coach Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and Kevin Durant. So the buy-in is there. Yeah,
they're buying in. As soon as he walks in the door, they're buying in. I guess a good one for a group here, as Anna's asked, is how do we keep our teams motivated during isolation? You might have had a little bit of this during last year with the COVID interruptions. How do you keep your team motivated, or how do you keep your guys motivated during ISO?
I think this is such a tough one. Like, this is such an unprecedented time, right? Like, none of us are going to be good at this.
Yeah.
In general, I found you can keep players more engaged anytime you are talking about them specifically.
Yeah. Talk about
you want a player to lock in on the film, show clips of him or her, right? So if you've got film of them, show them. If you've got film of people you want them to model their game after, show them. If you've got clips of, hey, here's a particular action or a particular skill that I think would benefit you, show them. Like, little stuff like that that's tailored to them. Players can tell when you're making an effort to accommodate them. And so it goes a long way. When you put together a team edit of any kind, avoid showing the same three people over and over. Try to include everybody. If you're going to criticize one of your studs, sometimes it's as simple as, hey, FYI, I'm gonna go at you pretty hard in this film session real quick. And that way they're like, oh, okay. Cool. They're going to get less defensive. And let's be honest, the main reason people check out in any kind of team film is they're getting defensive and they don't like what the coach said, right? But
they don't feel it's for them.
So it's got to be film, right? Or some kind of culture building. Sometimes it's just having meaningful conversation. A practice I saw a few years ago, or I guess a method I saw a few years ago for team building was, so oftentimes in the G League, the low guy on staff has to drive the bus for the opposing team. Home team is responsible for transportation for the visitors. And so I was the low guy on the staff in Windy City, and I was driving the bus. And South Bay Lakers are in town. And you know those little like question cards that they're like conversation cards that
I got some here. Yeah, I got some here at the desk. I know the one you're on about. Yeah.
So what they did on the bus ride, knowing it was a 30-minute bus ride, they did 2 or 3 of those questions where they asked the question and they went around, every single person on the bus had to answer it. And some of them were like deep, meaningful stuff. Some of them were low-key funny. Hey, like, if you could live in any one movie, what would it be? Some was, what's your greatest fear? You know, there's a lot of stuff you can learn, and that's a productive thing that hopefully translates to winning games down the line when you're finally in a gym. every bit of cohesiveness helps. But at the same time, like when a player has an opportunity to talk and be heard, they're going to be engaged. And they're going to be thoughtful about what they say in front of the whole team. And sometimes putting them on a spot on that kind of thing where there is no right or wrong answer can be beneficial for engagement. No, that's awesome. Ben, it's been awesome having a chat, and I really do appreciate you. I know I've got Luke on the line. I've got some questions here. Luke can wait. Got a family to worry about. We got guys and no guys in here, and I must admit the text message I had from Ben was he was just going to come in here and heckle people. So that doesn't surprise me at all from you. Off the back of that, it's not like Luke has some new job that he's got to. Yeah. We want to show him off. We want to get him out here. But look, I know I've got some other questions, but I'll get them to you. I'll get those questions to you, Ben, so guys can get an answer on it, and I'll get your Twitter handle out to people as well. Ben's he's a pretty open guy, as you can tell, loves to share his story as well, which is unreal. And yeah, once again, Ben, I just, for me personally, I appreciate you jumping on today. Absolutely. I'll throw my email and my Twitter in the chat. I don't really tweet much, but you can reach me on it. Yep. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks, Coach. We're going to get straight in. What's that? Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. We got, let's get into it straight away. I got our final speaker for the morning, and I know we're dragging time out. People are going to have 3 coffees before they get on for the rest of the day. But I got Coach Luke McKay. Coach, we got an Australian coaching in Kansas. We can't be more excited about it. It's nice to finish with an Aussie. I've had some contact with Luke, and I know he's just arrived. 2 kids that I had the pleasure of coaching for a couple of seasons at Coburg have just arrived on. Well, I hope they've arrived on campus, Luke. I hope they're there. I'll be disappointed if they're not. They made it. Whew, that's all right then. Hopefully they're not too tired, and you haven't ragged them yet. And I don't know whether Duncan knows how to make a bed, Luke. All right, so you're gonna have to. Like, I'm worried he doesn't know how to fold his sheets over, so somebody's gonna have to show him what to do. But Luke, welcome. Fantastic. Thanks for sticking around in the office for us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I guess to start off with, for our coaches here, explain to us, I guess, the type of environment you've moved into. You were previously an assistant coach. You're now a head coach at Neosho College, community college. What's college life like there? What sort of college is it? Big college, small college? How would you describe it to our group?
Right. Yeah. So we're a small community college in a small town here in Kansas. So we've got about 2,000-ish kids on campus on any given year. Obviously, last year took a hit with COVID, but we're hopefully back to somewhat normal and have people on campus. Small town Kansas, for anybody that knows, loves their hoops. You got the Kansas Jayhawks, you got Wichita State, K-State, all have great followings, but that starts from really the little kids through high school into college, and we get great fan support here. Obviously, this is my first year, but everything that I've seen and having recruited the community colleges here when I was at the D1 level, they pack the place all the time. Good, bad, or indifferent, the Kansas fans are coming out. So it's a small town environment on a small campus, but with great support and great fans. They just love their hoops here.
Awesome. Now, like I said, you've been an assistant coach previously, Oklahoma and over there, Texas Rio Grande as well. You're now a head coach. You're the main guy in the building. You walk in the door on the first day, Luke. I don't want to put any heat on you, mate, but what's the head coach do when he walks in the door of a new place? What's the plan? What's the first thing you attack?
I think, you said the main guy. Really, the main guy in any program is the players, right? My eligibility's up. It doesn't matter what I can do. I can't get out there and make a shot, get a defensive stop, or get a rebound. So the most important people really in any program on any level are the players. They're the guys in the jersey. So my first order of business was finding players, getting players, and building a roster. When you come in, especially now in college basketball, the turnover is so huge that every year you really start from scratch, and that was the case here. So finding good quality guys to come over here and who wanted to be here and who were playing for the right reasons was really number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the priority list. I just last night spent the first night in my new house here in Kansas. Other than that, I've been sleeping in the dorms. I think we start school here next week. If I didn't have my family out of the dorms by the time students were moving in, I don't know if my wife would have stuck around for too long. We were doing bunk beds and everything, so I even put that on the back burner just to get guys here, get players, and the athletes here. No,
I appreciate it. We just a little audio there. Look, I don't know whether you got to get a little closer to your screen or whatever with your buds or something, just to not as loud as some of our guys. Just not in and out, just fading a little bit on it. That's all right.
Okay.
You guys, so you've recruited a couple of Aussies in there, a bunch of Aussies in there already. You have had Aussies in your other rosters where you've been previously. We're coming in COVID. How do you go about recruiting, I guess, internationals, not just Australians, the internationals into the US? And I guess, what are you looking for? Is it film? Are you talking to coaches first? How do you sort of go about that recruitment phase internationally?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of the above. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, we got you a little bit there. Yeah, you sound right there.
Okay, good. So it's a little bit of all of the above. Obviously, you can't make the trip to see everybody live and in person, so you've got to do it via video. Fortunately, it's 2021, so you can do that. And so I was able to connect with some coaches, and they kind of pointed me in the direction of some players who I should take a look at. And I was able to do that. And look at that. We have 5 Australian guys coming, 1 player from New Zealand who's here. So we have a great, representation of that part of the world. But really it comes down to film and then just making phone calls, reaching out to people and just checking on who they are as people. The film can tell you what they are as a player, but it doesn't tell you too much who they are as people. When you see players play live, you can watch their body language on the bench. You can see them warm up. You can see them leave the floor after a game. If they didn't play well, you can see how they react when the game's over. Film doesn't show you that. So you have to call around and make sure that you do your diligence and find out not just can they put the ball in the hoop or get up and down the floor, but are they good guys that you want around? Because the college setting, especially the community college setting, is very unique in that you're around them all the time. To see my guys all day, every day. They're going to be with each other all day, every day. They live with each other. They're going to eat together. They're going to be in the locker rooms together. They're going to work out together. They're going to be in the bus. They're going to be family for the time that they're here. So if we have guys that are not high character guys, then that causes a problem.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we've got mums and dads on this call that are coaching their kids. You know that Australian junior scene really well, but when a kid's trying to get himself out there, or college coaches, what do you how do you like to see a highlight film, or I guess some film of a kid that they might be doing it for their kid? What do you want to see?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing I would do is I'd say cut right to the chase, right? Don't have too much information up front, because as college coaches, we get dozens and dozens. If we just get these emails and texts, and people hit us on Twitter and social media all the time. And if there's 30 seconds of kind of random information, hobbies and things like that, before we get to the highlight clips, it's nothing personal, but that takes a lot of our time. If we're talking about doing that for 20 kids a day, 30 kids a day, and we've got our own team to take care of, we're running out of time. So I'd cut right to the chase and get right to the highlights. And I know highlights don't show you everything, but it kind of whets the coach's appetite, right? If they see, oh, yeah, he can run, he can jump, he can shoot the three, he's got these skills, then we circle back and look for more and start digging. But if it's just kind of very generic and it's like his favorite color is blue and these kind of different things, it doesn't help us, and it really is hard for us to kind of filter all that out. So I would hit coaches with a 2 or 3 minute highlight and just clips, get their appetite, get their attention, and then we can go more in depth as we start to build that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think a lot of kids, they've got a lot of free throws on their coach, a lot of free throw shooting on those films. That's always a good one. It's always good to check. I've got a guy shoots his free throws. Well, I'm going to jump in. We got questions coming in already, which is great. So, I'm going to come back in because I know I've sort of obviously know you from being in contact with you a couple of times. But, as an Australian, how did you, I guess I know your story, but how did you end up where you are in the US? It's quite I guess for us coaches here, it's quite a unique situation to know that an Australian's the head coach of a college program. So how did you end up where you are now? I know there's a lot to it, but, try and articulate that to the group.
So when I was growing up in Perth, Australia, I was in the VHS age. There was no YouTube. You couldn't just send links out. So I wanted to come to America, but I had no idea how to figure it out. So I didn't have internet at home. So I had to find one of my friends had internet at his work. So I'd go up there late at night and just get the addresses of colleges and just start sending letters out with paper clippings of games and, things that they'd write about my games in the paper and just little bits and pieces. And I had myself a letter that I had printed out, and I'd put it in the mail. I'd do as many as I could, pick back up the next night and just start from scratch, start from where I left off. And I just went all the way down the list. I had no idea who I was sending it to. I was just sending it to different colleges. I might have been sending it to Kentucky or some school that doesn't even have basketball. But I got one junior college in Texas to buy it, and I offered to send them a VHS. If they wanted a tape, I'd send it to them. Obviously, I couldn't do that for hundreds of schools. So they bit, and they asked for a VHS, so I sent it to them in the mail, and then they called and said, well, why don't you come over? This was around December. Why don't you come in January for the second semester of school? I didn't know it at the time. What they were doing is having me come and basically try out for the team for free. So they got to look at me for a semester for free. I didn't know it at the time. I just thought I was in America. If I had have gone there and couldn't play, they would have put me on the plane and sent me home. But fortunately, I stuck there at a junior college there in Texas for 2 years, played there, enjoyed it, then went to East Carolina University from there, bounced back and forth between Australia and between Perth and East Carolina as I was finishing my education and playing in what was the SPL there, but it's now the NBL 1 West. Playing there, finishing my education, got done with my education and knew I wanted to coach. And I was fortunate enough to find myself a JV assistant coaching job in Corsicana, Texas, small town, Texas. And I was the JV coach, which means I was doing everything. You name it, I was doing it. Washing uniforms, sweeping locker rooms out, you name it, I was doing it. So met my wife there and married her. So now I'm a Texan by marriage, and the country stuck with me for the moment.
Nice one. Now, you're obviously at Texas Rio Grande, nice little sunny part of the world down there. Assistant coach down there, I guess, mid-major school. That's what I described for our career back here. Small, again, small university, but still at a top level there. How do you go recruiting guys into a small area like that? It's kind of out of the way. How do you how do you sell your program? I know we talk about it here with our programs all the time. How do you sell your program to the kid that wants to go there instead of somewhere else?
Right. So we took the job. I was at University of Oklahoma with our head coach, Lou Hill, and I was a graduate assistant there. So I wanted to get into college coaching. So I took a graduate assistant position for basically no money and worked on my master's degree while I worked with the team at OU. Fortunately, Lou got the job at UTIGV. The week we took the job, he said, do you want to come with me down there? And the week we took the job, an article came out in a magazine here in America that listed the 10 hottest or 10 worst jobs in college basketball. And we were right there. We were like number 2 or 3. And so we're looking at each other like, what have we got ourselves into? It's the worst job in college basketball. Not only that, the school used to be called University of Texas Pan American. They renamed the school to University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, which is a mouthful for anybody. It's our jerseys look like a eye chart when you're trying to get your license. They had so many letters on them. Nobody knew who we were. We're one of the worst jobs in the country, and we're down on the border between Mexico and America, which for anybody who keeps up with the news here is a place where a lot of people try to avoid. It's got a kind of a stigma to it that is not safe down there. That's not the case. But so we get there and we walk into the gym and we look around and the gym's falling down around our ears. There's rats running through our locker room. I mean, it's just our players had the showers were in a hallway where our guys would be showering and just random people walk past them. I mean, it was just a catastrophe. But the way we're able to build it was not selling facilities. It was not selling people on come and live in the shiniest city or anything like that. What it was we were selling them on us, on people, that we were going to take care of your son. We were going to take care of your child, really. He might be 6'10" and full of muscle, but he's still a kid. So we pledged to these parents that we would take care of their children, not just as basketball players, but as young men, as students, and help them grow. And so that helps people look past all the fancy, shiny things that colleges have that they use to recruit athletes. College basketball right now is creeping up on it's. Last time I looked, it was almost 1,800 kids that are transferring from schools, Division I schools in America. So you do the math on that, 350-ish, give or take, Division I schools, 1,800 or so. What's that?
It doesn't work.
Program, right? It don't work. So in our 3 years preceding this one, we had one guy transfer, which is way below the national average, not even close. But I feel like what that was is that we took care of them as people first, and then as players second. Now, they fixed a lot of things. They poured a lot of money into athletics down there at UTIGV, and they've come a long, long way. They've redid a lot of things for us. So it's really a beautiful place and a beautiful school. I don't want to disparage my former home. They've really done a lot to make it really, really good down there. And it's a great place now. The university is booming. The athletic program is just going from strength to strength. Before COVID shut us down, we were on track. We had the highest finish in program history, and we were doing really well. And they had really funded us and poured a lot into the program. But really, that's what it comes down to in college athletics. For Australians, they got to be really careful looking at the biggest, shiniest facility and the biggest name. Look at the people first. It would be something that I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I say that to kids all the time. Does it fit you? Does it fit your ideals? Does it fit you? Does it fit you as a person? I think that's important as well. Back to where you are now, in your hot seat there. What sort of style of basketball is going to be played up there in the show? What are we going to be expecting up there?
Right. So all of us as coaches, we have what we want to do, and then we have to look at our players and we have to evaluate. It's not what we want to do; it's what we can do, right? So I'm going to take a look at my players in the next week or so. These guys that are arriving on campus over the next couple of days, and then decide from there. But ideally, it's going to be a lot of space. We're going to play 5 out, and we're really going to space the floor. I do believe a lot in the numbers, the analytics of basketball. I don't think it's lore and gospel, but I think it can really point you in a good direction when it comes to how to play. So I think for anybody that maybe we just had Ben on here that was with the Vipers down there in the RGV. We'll play a lot like the Vipers and the Rockets had with Coach D'Antoni on the offensive end of the floor. Very open, create a lot of space, try to attack the rim, get to the rim, get those paint points, get those free throws, and then shoot a lot of threes.
And how's that going to look like from a practice point of view? I'll keep us rolling with how does that look like from practice for you to get that mentality? Does that mean you're just getting in the gym, just shooting them up, or you got some more? I guess you got more to that for it.
Right. So you talk to people who really aren't coaches and really not into basketball, and they say, well, I can't watch the NBA. I can't watch the Houston Rockets because all they come do is fire threes. Well, it's not that simple, right, of just coming down and jacking it up. There's a method to it. There's a plan to it. So it's not just going to be chaos where we're just throwing it up there. What it'll look like for us is a lot of 3-on-3, especially initially, where we can work with the ball screen and then that extra third guy in the corners, playing out of the corner off that ball screen and reading not just the big who's helping on the ball screen or guarding the ball screen, but that third defender that's tagging the guy that's on the roll or on the pop. And a lot of reps. We're going to really, really rep that, play a lot of 3-on-3 to where our guys can become very proficient at playing out of the ball screens. We're not going to run a lot of people say, oh, they don't run anything. Well, we're going to run a lot of stuff, but we're not going to pull it out, back it up to half court, tuck it in their arms, and hold our fist up in the air and run a play. We really want our guys to be able to just flow into things and run plays without us having to tell them to do that, to back it out. So just a lot of repping actions in small groups. I stole this from a soccer coach, and I like it. No lines, no laps, no lectures. So our guys are going to get as many reps as they possibly can. As soon as we hit the floor, we're grabbing the ball, and we're going into making reads, making plays out of those ball screen 3-on-3 situations. That means more work for us as coaches because we've got to come back for multiple groups. We can't have everybody in the gym at once. But hopefully that pays dividends because our guys are getting more reps instead of seeing a pick and roll or a certain coverage, half a dozen to a dozen times in practice. We may be able to double, triple that each practice, and then you spread that out over the course of a season. And now they're seeing it far more. And just the more times they've seen it, the better they are at reading it.
Yeah, definitely. And you're talking about, you want players to make reads. So is that offense going to be dictated where the ball is on the floor or where the players are on the floor? How would you see that?
I think it's got to be both, right? You got to dictate where it's got to be both. It can't be just where the ball is, and it can't be just where the players are. There's going to be a lot of both of those.
Yeah.
You can't have our point guard coming up the ball screen and crashing into somebody else because he thought he was supposed to be driving there. If there's somebody in your way, you can't go down. Now, I am going to go to the point of I'm going to get the blue tape out and tape the floor out and say, hey, look, here's your spots you got to get to on the floor, and you better be in those spots. And just like we do, I think it was Coach Ryan Pannone with the G League affiliate for the New Orleans Pelicans was talking about his time in Europe and why European basketball is so good at this. In America, if somebody's not on the split line, if they're not on the help line, we blow the whistle, stop and yell at them, get to your spots. You're not in help side. But in offense, if people don't get to the spots, we kind of let them go on it. Well, we can do that on the flip side too. Here's the tape. Here's your spot. Get to your X. Get to your spot on the floor. If you don't, blow the whistle. Look, you're supposed to be down there. You're spacing the floor for your teammates. And I think that contributes to an unselfish attitude because – to me, if a player won't make the effort to correctly space the floor, then they're just not an unselfish guy. They're just looking out for themselves because they won't get out of their teammate's way to allow him to go make a play.
Yeah, it's a great takeaway. I like that. And you spoke about doing a lot of 3-on-3, and I love that theme. And Mitch talked about that, and Ben, and everybody kind of comes in there, and I hope our junior coaches take that away. But when you're getting into your big offensive structure, are you going 5-on-5 a lot, or are you going 5-on-0? What's kind of your sort of balance on that?
Yeah, I think the more you can play live and play 5-on-5, the better, because that's the way the game's played, right? So the more reps you can get playing 5-on-5, the better. Obviously, there's going to be times when you have to walk through certain things and you have to kind of explain and teach. So that'll allow for 5-on-0 time to come into play. But young guys want to play, right? Players want to play. That's what you do. Basketball is a game, and games are meant to be played. So you got to get out of their way at times. And while it may feel good to you as a coach to stand out there in the middle of things and direct traffic and tell everybody what to do, it's not about you. It's about those guys playing the game. So you've got to have that control to back away and let them play. Now, that doesn't mean it's just chaos and doing whatever they want to do. But you have to let guys play. And that's what they want to do. That's why they're in the gym. That's why they're going to get up and lift weights. And that's why they're going to do the things they don't like doing in order to get to that, to play.
Yeah. Look, I'm a huge proponent of 5-on-5 in my program too. And I definitely agree. I guess one more question around that 5-on-5. How are you stopping and correcting? Are you stopping in game? Are you pulling it at the end? How are you, I guess, staying in some sort of control rather than going into chaos?
Yeah. So again, you're going to have to build those the skeleton of the concepts that you have when you're playing the 3-on-3, and we practice to get ready to play games, right? So I don't want to be stopping every 30 seconds, blowing the whistle and say, "Hey, freeze, do this, do that," because that's not realistic towards the game. So there's going to be on the fly coaching, right? You're going to have a good voice in the gym to where they can hear you over the balls bouncing and the cheerleaders and the fans and everything. But you also have to be, it's the line from Ocean's 11. Don't use 10 words when 5 will do, right? You got to be able to speak and coach these guys in short bursts. You got to have sound bites for them because they may be flying down you past you on the court, on the sideline. You got to give them that cue real quick. You can't have time to have a full running conversation with them. So that's building that vocabulary so they know what you're saying. That's building that structure in there from the 3-on-3 so they have an understanding of, oh, coach told me to do this. I got to get to this spot, or I got to make this read in this particular action. But again, at the end of the day, practice is to prepare to play a game. So the more game-like we can make it, the better.
I love that, Luke. And yeah, that's fantastic. And I think, yeah, all that coaches, that's a great takeaway. You know, we got to make practice more game-like. And Luke, I really, really appreciate it, Coach. I appreciate your time this evening. I know you're new in your program and everyone's coming on campus, and I'm no doubt busy and a stressful time. So thanks for taking some time out for our coaches and myself. Yeah, I know lots of takeaways from there. So thanks very much.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And if anybody sees a 7-foot guy running around in Australia, send him our way.
Man, Luke, I'll make sure I get that email out to you. Don't you worry about that. And I know there's a few guys in here that are super keen. Just to end up, look, on behalf of Ivanhoe Basketball Club and myself, thank you to our speakers. I really, really appreciate them. Thank you, coaches, for your attendance this morning and your participation. It's been fantastic. The appetite's there. We'd love to continue doing some more of this sort of stuff with some guests and some coaches, maybe get a bit more tactical in what we talk about. As I said before, we will share the recording and social media links and contacts for coaches so you can get at them and connect with them as well. Always open to feedback on this style of session. And finally, to those in the United States, have a restful evening. And to our Aussies, have a fantastic day today. Take it easy, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.